call this meeting of the Board of Directors, Celebration Residential Owners Association to order, December 17th, 2018. We'll start with the owner's comment period. I see that we have three who have asked to be offering comments as owners. Eileen Barr, would you? You're going to pass? Okay. Cheryl Barr.
I'll pass unless I have to rebut something.
Now or never, Gerald.
And then we have Karen Parnosian.
Right here, Karen.
Right up here.
Right here. And just, if you introduce yourself and where you own property.
Yes, Karen Panosian. I live over at 109 East Park Crescent in the North Village. And I just wanted to make sure the homeowners were aware of the towing situation downtown. I think you probably are, but I had a horrific experience about a week ago. And I know that they have signs posted, but I was going down around 5 o'clock on a Sunday to mail some Christmas cards. And where I usually go, it was blocked off because of the holiday celebration where you can stay in your car and drop off the mail. So I went around behind the post office. There weren't any parking spots, so I did double park, but only for a brief second so I could go drop my mail off and come back. And by the time I did that and came back, there was a tow truck there, and he was hooking my car up. And I begged and pleaded with him, told him I was a resident. I only had my driver's license with me. I didn't have anything else. I thought I'd pop down for a few minutes, go back home. I had dinner cooking, and he demanded like $62 or $65 in cash in order to release my car. And I explained to him I had no cash on me. I just had my driver's license. I thought it'd be a few minutes to drop off letters and go back home. And so I was trying to see what I could do to get cash. He wouldn't take credit cards. The local celebration police who were there for the event did come over, talk to me. They were very nice. They offered to drive me home so I can get a credit card. And we had told the tow truck driver what we were going to do. So came back with the credit card, was going to make payments so he could release my car. And that's when we found out that he said that we don't accept credit cards, we need cash. And I said, well, if you had told me, I would have gotten cash as well, but you said you accept credit cards and that I wanted my car released. And I said, I'm a resident, you know, can't you at least reasonably help me out here or give me a chance to get cash somewhere? And he would not, so he promptly towed my car about 5 miles down 192 in a very bad area. What I thought was going to take 5 minutes took 3 hours. I had to call a friend, borrow some money from him, and go down to an area which was not the safest. And the tow truck drivers were very rude to me, very unreasonable. After we made payment, they made us wait in a very dark alley area for them to unlock the chain link fence in order for me to get the car. And again, just treated me very rudely, and finally was able to get back home. But just, you know, being reasonable, looking at the situation individually and saying, hey, you know, can you guys help out here? This is ridiculous that my car had to be towed, and I had to go through that as a resident here and felt like I was treated very poorly and didn't deserve that treatment as a homeowner here. And I don't know if you guys, I know Lexon is involved with the tow truck company, but they seem very unhelpful as well. But just looking at the type of companies that they're hiring and how they're treating the residents here. Yeah. All right.
Does management want to respond with anything?
What I can tell you is Lexon's privately owned. The property downtown is privately owned. And they're privately owned parking lots, so they contract with a towing company. And during busy events, that towing company, maybe for lack of better terms, has just free reign. Whenever they see an illegally parked car, they tow. That's how they make their money. So I think the best advice I can give is just really be careful where you're parking downtown, because it will get towed. And we have zero authority over who they utilize for towing or how they implement their towing policy. It's not a CROA board authority or decision.
And just the treatment of the residents. I know there's not much that can be done for my case, but if I can help prevent this horrible experience from happening to another resident, that's why I wanted to speak up.
Yeah, I'll just echo it again
Okay.
in the camera, and anyone watching, just if you're going downtown, make sure you park in a legal parking spot, because they will get towed. And the experience
Even if
you just
you're
heard
only
is not
there
a fun
for a
experience.
minute.
Even just for a minute.
Yep, even if you're only there for a minute and they're not reasonable and they won't listen to reason.
Thank you.
Yep.
Karen.
All right, thank you
I also
guys.
saw it on the back porch, and I do appreciate you posting it because it does notify and help others to be aware.
Yeah, I just want the homeowners to be treated fair and equally and with respect. All right, thank
Thanks,
you,
Karen.
guys.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Anyone else who didn't sign in, like to make a comment? Okay. Steve, can we verify the meeting's been properly noticed?
Yes, it has.
And can you verify a quorum?
Yes, you do.
Thank you. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So now we'll call to order the formal meeting, and we'll have a motion to adopt the agenda with some modifications. Motion to adopt the agenda?
I move to adopt the agenda, but to add 2 items, or to make 2 changes.
Okay, please.
The first is to move item 23 up to item 2,
Okay,
and to add a new item 1 regarding Artisan Club Condominium Association.
okay.
Second?
Thank you, Brian. It's a motion by Jackson, second by Brian. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the minutes. We have CROA Workshop 11/5/18, CROA Board Meeting 11/14/18, and CROA Workshop 11/19/2018.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Jack. Any second?
Second.
Second from Debbie. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Committee report. Shall we start with ARC?
Can we do covenants first?
Well, we'll start, I think we'll start with covenants first.
Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Stephen Fromfelder. I'm the chairman of the Covenants Committee. In the month of November, approximately 250 inspections and re-inspections were conducted on single-family homes and the service area homes. 28 resale and follow-up inspections were also conducted by our inspectors, and 148 new and completed ARC projects were reviewed by the inspectors. 37 emails were sent for minor items, and 43 letters were sent for major items or multiple minor ones. Also in the month of November, we conducted our November hearing. 33 properties were reviewed at the November meeting. 14 proposed fines were rejected or recommended for rejection. 9 proposed fines were tabled, and 10 proposed fines were recommended to be approved by the board. The inspectors continue to drive through the community, conducting routine inspections approximately every 6 weeks, and have reference materials in the NEBs with them to assist all the homeowners. The community standards team is also ready to work with every resident here at Town Hall, a phone call, an email, or in person if you so desire. If you'd like to if you get a notice, we encourage you to contact them. Communication is the #1 thing we're striving towards. They can assist you with timelines, applications, and maintenance plans. Again, thank you for all your hard work and keeping Celebration looking beautiful. Subject to your questions, that's all I have from the Covenants Committee.
I have a comment, follow-up
Yes, sir.
question. You did an ad hoc presentation at our recent board workshop on covenants and fining and process.
Yes, sir.
And we've scheduled you for our next workshop, which is January 7th.
Yes, sir.
9:30 in the morning. So any 10-second soundbite of what that would cover, so others might want to attend?
The purpose of that is a little bit of a tutorial for the board as the current process as that we understand it with management and the actual committee. It is then a 1-year snapshot of what we have been working through as violations notices and the process, and seeing a timeline so it can be demonstrated to the board.
Good.
It
So that's
also-
a nice follow-up from what, because we
Yes.
really didn't finish our discussion, and we'd agreed at that point to carry that forward.
And what will happen, our ultimate goal is to give you an update with the data for 2018 as to where we stand and, how well we are doing and what focus areas that we need to do, and we will also provide some recommendations
Oh, there will be some recommendations too. Okay.
from the committee
Good.
to the board for your considerations.
Good.
But it is a committee update to you, statistically drawn from all of the information from multiple sources, but it has all come from management, and the numbers have been crunched between management and the company.
Good.
And
That'll
our
be, that'll be interesting. It's going to be very interesting.
Okay.
Way to start the new year.
And we hope to have, again, all of the committee members, we hope to have here also if there are any questions of the
Good.
committee. All right?
I'm sure there will be, please.
Yes, sir.
When's the next Covenants Committee meeting?
You would ask me, I put my phone away.
February 18th, I believe, 2019?
February
18th.
18th?
So can you explain what the process is over the holidays and with this sort of little gap in meetings? Because you normally meet monthly, correct?
Yes, sir. It has been a policy of previous board that it is as we might say, a hiatus of where we are not going and having a meeting to consider violations and publishing those in the month of December. And that because there is no actual meeting in December, we follow then after your meeting in January. Yes, it does build up a bit of workload for for us and for you, but it has been, that's a historical decision. I couldn't tell you yes or no as to, I don't know personally who made and when it was made.
But inspections continue throughout
Yes,
this
sir.
period?
Inspections are done every day of the week.
If
I
there
mean,
were something-
Monday through Friday.
If there was something egregious that occurred during this period?
Yes, sir.
You are not prohibited from acting?
No, management is not prohibited from acting if it is egregious. I would tell you, if they are notified, they act promptly. Either with a phone call, they go and investigate it, it's followed up with a phone call, an email, or an actual letter is generated.
And I'm asking this because I see on our agenda tonight, we have one item that is a non-compliance item that I think did rise to that level of being egregious, even though there was not a formal meeting. Is that inaccurate?
You
No,
guys
there was
start
a
the
meeting.
process now. So it used to be where the Covenants Committee started the process years ago, but now in 2000.
So we're gonna start the
You start the
process.
process, yeah, and then.
But we are not required to wait until February. We could start the finding process now.
And then they'll confirm, and the owner will have the opportunity to state their case as well at the February.
And then
Covenants
appeal
hearing.
also.
Okay, all right.
But if the board was to, if you are so moved, hierarchically, we work for you. If you want to direct that we have a meeting, be it in January, I would see no reason why we wouldn't. If it is that egregious to where you need the committee to then review, but again, it starts with you.
Okay.
And we do the technical review.
Great. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay. Are we ready with ARC?
Yes.
ARC?
Hello, everybody. Good evening. Again, my name is Nathaniel. I'm a member of the ARC, Architectural Review Committee. Just a quick update for you. So we had 134 applications that were reviewed by ARC in November. 127 were approved, and 7 were not approved. The top ARC requests in November were landscaping, design and planning. We had 21, roofing, we had 15, and painting of the exterior, we had 14. The ARC would like to remind everyone that exterior changes must be submitted to the ARC for formal review. We do have hard copies available here in Town Hall. It is also available on the front porch, just as a friendly reminder to you all. And then, of course, if you have any questions regarding the application process or need any assistance, Tony and the members are fantastic for that. So other than that, thank you for keeping Celebration beautiful. We're here to help you. So if you have any questions, happy to answer.
Anyone? Thank you.
Short and
Thank
sweet.
you.
Thank you, everybody. Happy holidays.
Stephen answered your question, or he took your
Perfect.
time.
All right, excellent. I'm good with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dog park? Do we have a dog park committee? No?
We haven't had a meeting since the last meeting. It was postponed
Okay.
until Thursday this week.
So there hasn't been a meeting. So a question I would ask is, and maybe management would know the answer, is I know that at a board meeting a couple of meetings ago, we approved the signage and all the regulations. Has that all gone public? The signage, the regulations, is that all of that up to date?
The sign actually just came in the last couple of days.
Okay, so, good. So it's that close.
And then once the sign goes up, we have a 30-day period, I think, before we start the actual.
Okay, so once the sign goes up, implementation is within the month. Okay, good. Recreation?
I can do Richard.
Okay.
All right. You can stay up, you can stay up
Matt
there.
is supposed to be somewhere in the building. I think he's hiding.
ARC meeting.
Do you want?
Want me to go get him?
Dory, you're fine. Go ahead.
Okay. All right, well, we just had a meeting this evening, actually, and our next meeting is going to be January 28th at 3. One of the things we talked about at this meeting briefly and the last meeting was to possibly recommend to the board at some point in time for the fields to do a soft opening, perhaps, for a 3-month period after it officially opens, to be opened for only residents, events, and guests, to give the residents the opportunity to see it and whatever before booking programs. But that's just a recommendation, and
You're considering making the recommendations, or you are
the
hereby?
committee has discussed it and would like to make the recommendation, but we don't have it in writing to you yet.
If we take if we approve the $2.1 million from the county, I think the rules would probably require us to open it up pretty quickly.
Okay.
I noticed Commissioner Chowdhury's in the audience tonight, so I'm sure she would like to know that too.
All right, well, I'm just telling you, they felt very strongly about that. We also we had people talking about tennis courts, availability. We really feel that we don't have a problem with that, but we did talk briefly about possibly on the Rec Pro to have one court available that residents could rent for a very small amount, $10, $15 for an hour, to secure a spot on the court on an ongoing basis or at one time, but it would be controlled. So that we're discussing that.
Reservations.
Correct, for one court only. And then the other thing is we had discussed about the mobile vehicle, which we understand it's not in operation, that perhaps put that on the master plan as part of the facilities use, but it would have to be purchased. And as I gave you, David, there's a list of, from 2006, about 25 things that were in the vehicle that came with the vehicle. You had to make sure you put it back in, and so on and so forth.
So the backstory is, I think it was the last meeting, the meeting before, after the nice parade and seeing a trailer and so forth from the school band, I think it was. You've investigated that. You realize that the trailer's not in good operating condition, so that would, if you wanted to move forward with it, you would work up some protocols, and that could be part of the whole master planning process if we wanted to go that way. Just see how it falls out.
Exactly. But now you have all the information, what the fees were, what was in it from 2006.
So for the record, I'll pass this on to Steve, and you can scan it in and share it with the board, just so we all see what Dory found in her files. From history, this relates to Celebration 25 event.
Exactly. Okay, and that's all I have for that.
So one thing I'd love for the recreation group to look at is the fee structure for renting of our current facilities. I'm not talking about the new facilities, current facilities, and how often it's rented to groups outside of Celebration and what the dollar value is to us.
And I think probably the fee should be looked at again.
And look at that. The reason I ask is recently there was an event with extremely loud noise in North Village. It was a private event, and the sheriff was called. After several attempts to have it shut down, Park Monitor did assess it and said it wasn't loud. Multiple residents said it was, and it was extremely loud.
Well, then they would have been in violation.
So, yes, but is it worth our while to do that for an outdoor pavilion like in any of our residential areas? So just to find out what if it's $1,000 net to the community, is that worth it for disruption of peace and quiet in our homes? That becomes a question. So it's a matter of having information so we can answer the question.
I'll put that on the
I
list
mean, if
to
it's
discuss.
$100,000, that's a different discussion than if it's 50.
And Mr. Anderson, I would like to add, I'll go to the January 28th meeting, but I would like to ask that the Recreation Committee consider the fees for the new athletic fields also.
Sure. Good.
And I think we have some data from surrounding areas on what they're charging. So we want to start that in January. So we'll add that as an agenda item on
You're
there.
going to have a busy new year.
Yeah, I'd like to add one thing that I know has been part of the conversation, Dory, and that is it appears that some of the organizations and groups already know their schedules for ball fields very far in advance. And I think there's going to be an ultimate question about whether or not we're going to want to be able to book fields a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road, or if we're going to put a window on that in some form. And I know that's been, am I right in saying that's been part of the conversation that you've been having on that committee?
And how the maintenance of the use or the maintenance overall that's going to be, how that's going to all fit together needs to be discussed, I think.
Well, it would also be interesting to know if someone books a field and then doesn't use it, that there are penalties. I mean, it's one thing for someone to say, I got a school thing, I know I'm going to be using it for a year in advance, and it will get used 99.9% of the time unless there's a hurricane or something. It's another thing for somebody to say, I just want to hold it, and if I don't need it, too bad.
Well, in my 20 years of Parks and Recreation experience, I've always collected money when you rented the field. We don't hold for, because we have competing groups that'll book and hold it just so the other group can't have it. And the only way to stop that is to pay for it.
And also, if they have deposits, that they would lose their deposit if they didn't show up. And some of those deposits are pretty hefty currently.
Well, you raise an interesting thought, Jackson, is now that we have these fields coming up, do we need to get Todd involved as far as what the planned maintenance or downtime for these fields are going to be?
Well,
as far as possible scheduling and stuff.
From a general, and Doug could probably support this, but from a general time frame for athletic turf fields, we're going to want to close them down right after the spring season complete for a couple weeks to resod the worn out areas. Most likely the goal mounts are going to be worn out and they're going to need to be resodded. And then at the end of the fall season, right before holiday break, we're going to do the same thing. Close them down, resod those worn out areas, and then put down some ryegrass overseed on those fields. Beauty of the synthetic turf field is you never have to shut it down. You can just keep running on it all the time.
Ultimately, we'll be talking about when do we create a second and a third synthetic field.
Yeah, exactly.
Any other questions or comments for recreation? Okay, thank you. Events, is that,
I was just saying.
put a no hat on?
Well, as the year comes to the close, December was jam-packed, full of fun, and the month kicked off, as many of you know, with the Frozen Holiday Fest here at Town Hall. And all those children, 400 children, turned into 600 grandmas, grandpas, uncles, aunts, and lots of families here. It was just amazing. I think we have to think our numbers bigger next year because we expected 400 children, but there had to be at least 600 people that came through there. It was because we had everything counted out, so we know. But it was wonderful. Everybody had a lot of fun, and then we had bounce houses, the Frozen themed treats and activities, and then the mechanical reindeer and a chance to visit with Santa Claus, Mr. and Mrs. Claus. And then the day moved on to the evening in which the movie Santa Claus was shown on the Great Lawn. And then on December 5th, the community came together for the Stars and Promises holiday concert. And we really did our best to ensure that the evening even had a chill in the air, and we got to pull out the heater, so it was a lot of fun. For those of you who came, I think it was very magical. I have to thank the Todd and his team and JR and the lifestyle department and everyone, because they, basically implemented the ideas. Thanks to Special Events Committee for adding the magic and sparkle, as we had discussed before, is what we like to do. And even though the music, it's really hard to find a band or a group that everybody likes, but I think that it was magical. But I think even more important, I have to thank those people in our town who came and purchased a table and came to the event, because it was truly those who purchased the tables and so on and so forth that we used those proceeds, and we presented a check to the Hope Center from CROA, from our residents, for $4,400. And Kissimmee Utility came that evening, and they offered early on to donate $5,000. So $9,400 was donated to the Hope Center that night. And that's what I think was the true magic, because we passed on the magic here for hope for those people in need who are also right outside of our community. So I was really excited, and it was a wonderful time, and we look forward to doing it again next year, hopefully again. So then moving on now to January, the food truck will be on the 11th. And then in February, it will be on the 8th, which will feature 3 45-minute performances by Nova Era. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correct, but the group is often seen performing in Disney Springs. And I did look them up because I wasn't quite sure, and it sounds like that they are a classical group with a twist, as that's how they're suggested. Is that
They're very good.
Very good. They, I think they have a flutist, a cellist, a violinist.
Yeah, they're all electronic.
It's, yeah, so I think that would be very exciting. So that's going to be again on the February 8th. Then finally, we are already working on the father-daughter dance, which will be held February 16th, and the tickets do go on sale January 15th, both here at Town Hall and online. So you get your tickets early because we do have a cap for the safety of all. That's all I
And
have.
Dora, can I just add, the Stars and Promises concert had 2 title sponsors. One of those was Yellowstone, who's here, so we
Thank
want to
you.
thank them for that.
Thank you. I'm sorry
And
about
then
that.
Vice Painting was our other title sponsor.
Who was the other?
Vice Painting. So thank you guys for that.
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry.
Thank you,
I forgot
Yellowstone.
that. Thank you.
I just want to thank Dory and her team for an incredible, those events were so close together. They just put in so much. They were just incredible for our community. Thank you so much.
It was
just-
fun.
I don't know when you sleep, but they were great.
Thanks,
Two
Debbie.
things. For the outdoor concert with the chill in the air, just sitting there under the lights, it felt like there was a canopy, it felt like there was a tent. It was hard to describe that feeling. It was, whoever that creativity was, and then putting that together with the mechanics and Todd and his team and JR, wow, just.
It was magical. And that's,
And
it
please
felt
don't-
like you were
please don't
going.
wait another year to do
It seemed,
something similar.
it seemed like you were at someplace else other than here.
It was-
And that's
it-
what was, I think,
it
I
really
know
felt
what you're saying.
I
It
felt
was fun.
transported.
Well,
So-
I'm glad you
So it
enjoyed
was
it.
marvelous. Then I have a technical question, because I couldn't find it in the minutes. Holiday home decorating, I understand that wasn't offered this year.
Correct.
So did you all discuss that? Because I don't see it in the minutes anywhere.
Well, I don't really recall, but how that all came about, I honestly do not know. I can't say, was I there? Was I sound asleep in a meeting? I'm not sure. I do know after the fact, after we found out that it wasn't taking place, that we discussed that one of the reasons that it wasn't happening was the lack of participation from last year. But after we discussed it, when we found out that it was not going to happen, we decided that if it was due to lack of participation, this is what the committee often likes to do, is to take an event that is kind of, waning, and let's recreate it. So if something happened that we didn't have it this year, we will, because evidently there is an interest, and we will make it even more spectacular next year. But I really don't know 100% the reason why that happened.
Well, just for clarification, it's, residents were allowed to decorate their homes this year. There just wasn't a awards given out contest.
So I guess what I would ask is if there's something that's been going on for a while, because this celebration is based a lot on tradition. So if there's something that's been going on for a while, if there's a choice of canceling it, just bring that to the board, just so that we know, because
I agree.
we get comments.
I agree.
Or complaints.
I don't know, I really don't know what happened.
That's the right word. We get.
I don't know what happened, but we will try to make sure that that does not happen next year.
Yeah.
Okay?
And it's not that we definitely want it to happen. If you decide that you did not want it, just bring it to us, and then at least we know, and we would confirm or ask you to retool or rethink. So that's all. Just
Well, if I would
if there's particularly if there's a change, that's the main.
I understand.
One additional item.
Please.
There was an awful lot of conversation at the end of last year and earlier this year. We had the focus group on all the parking, traffic, and all that type of stuff, starting with the events in the middle of October, even through today, and I've tried to attend a lot of them. It seems like it's all been orderly. It seems like things have been working. Nothing is perfect. We heard about the parking tow situation earlier tonight, but it seems like everything has been quite smooth. Am I correct? Or do you know of anything, or does anybody know of anything? It seems like it's really worked well, a lot of work that was put in by Jack and Vaughn and others.
Yeah, well, Steve might be able to address some of that from Mike's point of view.
The reports that I've been given are just how many spots are still available in the resident-only parking, up to 18, 20 spots on busy nights. So I think it's been helpful for the residents. And Kevin lives down there, or has a place down there. I don't know if he's still living there, but from what I understand, and we actually had one compliment that was forwarded on a resident that was very thankful that they had parking during these events. So having the school be able to raise some money for charity, I think it's a win-win. And there's some directional signs that are pointing people to come down this way to park. So so far so good.
And I'd just like to say a lot of people, like Jack Vaughn, were part of that group, you know, Sheriff or Deputy Jerry, a lot of people and other people here, it worked. So, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Artisan Park, do we have any update for now? Okay. Athletic Fields, any update?
I was going to do it as part of my management part. I can do it now.
Let's save it then.
Okay.
How about Master Plan, any update?
Same thing, part of my management report.
Okay. Liaison report, anything with CDD? Jack, you want to say anything?
I didn't attend the last meeting.
I think Vaughn was there.
Vaughn was there.
Vaughn is absent tonight.
He's recovering.
And I know that at the.
It was a 4.5 hour
I was at the
meeting.
one, it was a 4.5 hour. I was at the one before when they elected Dave Oros as continuing as president or chair. So I was at that one.
Debbie and I was.
We did an outreach I did an outreach and said, we'd love to have a CDD representative come to our meetings just as we are coming to their meetings. And I don't think we have a person yet.
We did that meeting during the day, it was a 4-hour meeting.
That was the one in the afternoon, yeah. A financial review, Brian?
Sure.
I'll try to make this quick. These are October financials. With an early December meeting, we don't have anything new. But, our budget, we're at $5.1 million. By the end of the year, we'll be real close to last year's $6 million. If you look at us before depreciation, we got a small profit of about $10,000, so we're doing well. Depreciation wasn't budgeted, but depreciation is a normal expense. If you look at us from a cash perspective, and when you look at CROA reserve funds and cash investments, we've got combined cash and investments of $6.7 million, so cash is strong. Why don't we go to the next page? So here we'll talk about, we've got operating cash and we got the reserve cash. So, here we start with the balance in our replacement reserves. At year end, last year end, we had 970, right? Now we got about 990,000, so we're still strong there. I'll compare it to what we're supposed to have in a minute. Capital, at the last board meeting, we had made the decision to get rid of the surplus. So we have non-restricted funds here. We made the decision and passed an amendment, so we're going to cap contingency at 500,000. Contingency will be used for, there's a hurricane and we have a large deductible, some other type of emergency and stuff like that. 500,000 gives us more than adequate cash to proceed with what we need to proceed with. So we have transferred the surplus funds over into the capital improvement fund. Capital improvement fund, again, we'll talk more about the work or the parks and facilities plan and stuff like that, but we've got funding there. So we had 2.5 million at year end. With that transfer, we're at about 3.8 million now. The athletic fields are going to cost us about $1,670,000 this year, so we'd end the year with about $2.3 million. Now, we're going to talk about the interlocal agreement later. Commissioner Chowdhury is here. I'd like to thank her and the county have worked with us very well. We thank them an awful lot. So $2.1 million we would hope to be receiving on March 1st of next year. Our total cost for the athletic fields is about $4.5 million. We'll have spent $1,670,000, which leaves us about $2.8 million to go. So we get $2.1 million from the county. To offset that, we'd end with about $1.5 million before normal amounts that come in. So it really puts us in a good position to have the $500,000 for the contingency. We'll have about $1.5 million before we start to build up back again. We're doing the capital and facilities plan, the parks and facilities plan. And, you know, we'll wait to see what the results are when we talk about a community center, when we talk about pickleball courts, when we talk about parks and stuff like that, and how we balance that out. We're gonna strive to have that all completed early next year, let's say March, April, so that, you know, we can think about the immediate project we wanna do and how we start to build up there. But we end up in very good financial shape, so that is a nice place to be. And if we could go to the third one. The third one here is a normal thing that we see, which is all the different service areas. And what we show here is the October cash for the replacement reserves for all of them and what they require at 12/31/18 and 12/31/19. We're still in strong position for all the service areas. Some are stronger than others, but everybody's in good position now for where they're at. So I think financially we can say that we're ending this year in a good position and we're strong going into next year. Be happy to take any questions if there are any.
Any questions? Very good, very, very helpful. Thank you.
Nice meeting.
Management report, Steve?
Since we talked about the athletic fields, I'll start with the athletic fields. So if you get your bearings, if you're directionally challenged like I am, when you're coming off of Celebration Boulevard, here is the library, and then right behind the library is the dog park, CBD building, and then CROA property starts right here. So this is where the road will be constructed. This is the Lot D that's been cleared out now, and you can see kind of where the openings are. Some trees were strategically left there to offer shade. When you get to about right here, this is parking lot, and then you have a footprint for the building going in right here. Field 1, Field 2, and then Field 3 down here at the bottom. There's been significant progress with the synthetic turf field. This is kind of a really cool picture because it shows you how this is laid out. It's all graded and laid out, then they put the footer all the way around it. Then they start laying the pipes underneath, and then this is rock that goes on top of those pipes. So all the larger rocks go in first, and then they were fine-tuning some smaller rocks on top of that. It's expected that we're going to have some carpet out here by the end of the month. Not fully installed yet, but we will have some carpet out here. So you'll see the beautiful Celebration logo in the middle, and then soccer, boys lacrosse, and girls lacrosse on these fields. All of these fields have Musco LED lighting going on them. So the significance of that is that we can turn lights on and off from our cell phones now or internet. They do not take 20 minutes to warm up like a metal halide light does. They can come on when you need them, and they can go off when you need them. So it's a really great technology. It's going to save money on electricity. This project's moving along nicely. We did hear at our last meeting last week, though, that because of some of the TCC review with the architect, that the building is a little bit delayed.
What's TCC?
It's the Celebration Company. The Celebration Company representative has really gone through the architectural plans for the building with a fine-tooth comb and has sent them back on more than one occasion. And as they're sent back, they're starting to get confused on what was done based on the comments that were sent back. So there are times when we get into analysis paralysis. So we talked to them a little bit in our meeting last week about what needs to be approved as of last week so that you can start the architectural approval and they can begin the work on it because they're ready to pour the concrete pad for it. And then what's just a little fine tuning that can be done throughout the process. And they agreed to that, and they've reached an agreement on that. So they should get started with the foundation for that building shortly. But we are probably looking at a slight delay for that building opening, and they threw out a number of June 1st of the building being open.
But the fields will be ready when?
The fields should be ready by April 1st still. So hopefully we can get it done quicker than that, but that is the time frame that I think ARCO is always going to err on the side of being more conservative and taking the full amount of time that they need. Hopefully it can get done quicker than that. So I'll answer any questions about the athletic field complex if you have any. But
I just want to
this is muck too, by the way, if you want to know what muck looks like. It was all removed from down here.
We brought a sample in.
Yeah.
I just want to add one thing. Arnco has done a tremendous job. I've been very impressed attending their meetings on a bi-weekly basis, and they're just right on top of everything. And I don't see we've had any overture. We haven't had
There were just
expenses
some
beyond
additional
what we-
change orders, not today, but that we have a log of, that are just based on once you start clearing the site. We didn't know that there was gonna be the
I know, but
problem there.
Brian asked me, are we getting into the $500,000 contingency?
No.
And I don't think we really got
No, in
anywhere
fact, I
into
think
that.
the Duke Energy, we had estimated around $80,000 to draw those lines, and they're coming back around $38,000. So it's not as high as we originally had.
We had a $250,000 contingency, and I asked Jack if he was gonna come in under budget.
And just to be clear, if we don't have the concession building ready when the first field opens, we will use portable bathrooms?
We'll probably have to get some high-end portable lights, as high-end as you can get for portable lights.
Contingency fund.
Well, we made that very clear, that the longer it takes for them to stamp this, that there are costs that we have to incur. And that was part of the challenge to them. We want to avoid those costs as much as possible. But we want the building to be done correctly, too. Okay. The next item I have is the Parks and Facilities Master Plan update. So this is exciting for moving into 2019. This is an opportunity, and there's going to be multiple opportunities throughout this process for residents to participate. And this is really going to be participation in shaping the future of what your parks and facilities look like here in Celebration. So the first opportunity is Wednesday, January 9th at 6 p.m. I'll repeat that again, Wednesday, January 9th at 6 p.m. It's a public meeting for the residents where the design company of the master plan firm will kind of go over some definitions, and we can all agree on what different facilities are called as we move forward through the process. So we'll identify what a community center looks like versus a theater, or versus a basketball gymnasium, or versus a senior center. So we can have some clear definitions for those. It'll be an opportunity for residents to walk around and talk to the master plan firm, really kind of talk about some of the items that you're looking for in this community. And then it'll be followed up with some surveys. So there will be some statistically valid surveys done, and then also general open to the public surveys. And then multiple focus group meetings with the different groups in town. So we're putting plans together for how we're going to address the focus group meetings. They'll also be out and about in January looking at the existing facilities, just doing a quick inventory, seeing if there's anything that stands out from their professional opinion that we want to kind of look at and focus on. But overall, all this data will be compiled, and hopefully by May, end of May, we'll have a 5-10 year facilities master plan moving forward. And the public meeting is in Friday Flash every week now, and it's going to be an article in the paper. So I can't stress it enough. If you want to have a voice in what your facility is going to look like moving forward, you got to come to one of these meetings. You got to participate in the survey. This is a time for your voice to be heard. And it's the same time as the election. So participate, get out, vote, come to these meetings, enjoy your holiday season, but once we hit January, it's time to get back on moving. So.
And let me just add to that a little. First off, for the board, the January 9th, I didn't get that date to you quick enough. That was my error. I apologize. I appreciate your understanding. For those in the community and the audience, we talked about the $1.5 million. We talked about how we'll be growing it and stuff like that, and how we'll be prioritizing it stuff. It comes out of this project. You know, if you sit around next June and say, I have an idea, it's too darn late. We're really going to take this data and look at it as a board, and we will get the information and we will prioritize stuff. My personal bias is community center is going to be very expensive, and there's a lot of little victories that we can get to make people think that we're caring about a lot of people. I'm going to push for the little victories first, and then we freeze some activities to start saving money for a community center as we define it. But now is the time to make your interest known. So participate.
Any questions on the master plan?
No, it's going to be an exciting few months.
Mm-hmm. The next item I have, and the last item I have, is
But we generally don't do comments from the audience during this time.
Okay.
Go ahead, Steve.
The last item I have is every year we work with Ken Lee with Celebration Sanitation to bring in what's called burglar boxes. It's the extra dumpsters around the holiday season. We're going to have two this year. We're going to have one here at the 851 building and one at Heritage Hall. And those will be out from starting this Friday, and they'll run through the 27th of December. So you'll see a sell of service announcement going out this week, and it'll be in our Friday flashes. But it's cardboard boxes only. It's not for styrofoam. It's not to throw away your turkey carcasses from Christmas Eve dinner. please keep, if we want to keep getting these boxes so that you don't have to have your TV boxes or whatever your new toys are out in front of your house, please make sure that we're only throwing cardboard in there.
Yeah, and I want to thank Ken for providing those with the, every year, that's
Ken's a great
extra
partner
service.
with
It's
us
a
in
great
town.
And I think
He really is a great
the
partner.
thanks goes back to Eric Oppegard, who was CROA board president, who actually initiated this maybe
Yeah.
3 years ago.
He did this the first year I was here in 2014.
Yeah,
4
and
years
there
ago,
was
okay.
a resident actually suggested it to him, and he carried it forward,
Yeah,
so.
so that's nice, and it's nice to
do
have that,
listen.
that cooperation.
Yeah. And then the only other thing for the management report is Yellowstone's here, if you all have any questions for them.
Questions for Yellowstone?
No, but I do want to say a thank you to them. The poinsettia tree that's outside in the lobby, that's from Yellowstone.
Really?
Yes.
That was a Christmas gift. Thank you. Thank you, it looks great, it really does.
Do we have representation out there that says it's from Yellowstone?
I don't know.
That would be nice to
We
have.
can make sure that happens.
Yeah, I would love to see that, thank you to our primary landscape firm.
We appreciate that.
That's very nice.
Yeah, and I would like to say, we talk a lot about accountability and making sure we're meeting the scope of the contract. Anywhere where we
Thank you,
identify
Ken.
deficiencies with Doug, who's the site leader, he's always on top of getting those things corrected. So no one's perfect, and we always have things that can get better, but he's responsive and works really hard to get those things addressed. So thank them for that.
All right, thank you.
Keep it looking beautiful. Major improvement. Anything else for Yellowstone? Anything
Any
else?
issues at all?
Any issues from you to us?
Good. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. You're gonna leave, you can leave now, go look at your tree.
Water.
Thank you so much. Steve, anything else for you?
No, that's the end of our management report.
I'll follow on with an email to the board. I had a request from Floyd. They have, there's apparently a Celebration County Streets Committee, and he would like to invite a board member. I know nothing more than what I've just said, but he has asked, would we like to have a representative to their next meeting, which is not yet scheduled. So it depends who's available. But I'll forward the information from Floyd to see if
Vaughn's
someone.
interested.
Oh, Vaughn would be.
Vaughn, that's right. That's how that works, right?
Is that a motion?
Vaughn's very interested.
Did I hear a second?
Second.
I believe he's singing the Hallelujah chorus right there.
And then just a notice, we do have a meeting, at least Brian and I, with the ad hoc group. It's for Island Village. We're meeting this Wednesday at 2 to 3:30, and Steve is part of that, and a couple from CDD, just to get an update.
Were you guys meeting?
I do want to ask
gonna be
you a
in the
question
room.
about
Please,
this.
please.
You had indicated that Mattamy would like to do a town hall meeting, I believe in January.
Yeah, that
Can you-
was their intent 2 months ago.
Can you describe what that town hall meeting would be about or like, or its purpose?
What we understood at that point, and frankly, I'm not sure if they're ready to do that. So 2 months ago, any day now, 2 months ago, any day now, they'll have the site plans. The initial layout of phase one, there's 4 phases. The initial layout of what the roads would be and what the road layout would be, where the school would be, and what the housing design would be. That's what we got last week, was the initial site plans, not yet approved finally by TCC, as I read their notes, but submitted to Osceola County.
Yeah, they're not approved by the
So it's not
TCC or
approved
the
by the
county yet.
county.
The real,
I tried to find it on the county site, could not find it, but so things are not really where they need to be. So the intent was to release to the residents of Celebration, here's what the design of this would be. Now, when they did a town hall meeting last March, they had images of what the houses would look like, but these were stock images from their history, not Celebration look. So there was a lot of interest of what that would be. So that was the intent.
well, a little further detail. Once they do the filings with the county commissioners are going to require a public meeting at some point. They want and need to get in front of Celebration residents and say, this is what the heck we're planning to do. So this is really an informational meeting. It's their meeting. I'm sure they'll talk about the road. I'm sure they'll talk about the bridge. I'm sure they'll talk about developments. I'm sure they're going to talk about their houses and what they would look like. But it's going to start becoming, once it's finally filed with the county, it's going to start becoming public information. Better they get in front of it, and I think better for us if if we get them in front of people, so at least you hear it versus pure back porch and whatever.
My one question with this email, did you by chance forward it to Jeffrey?
Did we
Just
do what?
For Jeffrey to have a look at it, Jeffrey Mallon?
Yes,
He's part of the
Jeffrey-
committee.
He has all that.
Him and Floyd both have it.
They got it because they were on this, it went to the ad hoc
Went to
committee,
them.
we
Got it.
forwarded it to this board.
Okay.
So
That
they
makes
are
more
part of the
sense.
ad hoc committee. So the other two issues that will come up that they'll need to address is the school. And we have invited the newly elected school board representative to come. She can't come Wednesday, but she was appreciative of getting that invite. And then the other is the thing that we talked about before is the extra access, the construction access and then the backdoor access. So they're going to have to address those issues.
I mean, I think it's commendable that we're trying to keep the lines of communication open, and I think we should continue to do that. I also think we should be pretty explicit that this is not, holding a town hall is not an endorsement of their product, it is not an endorsement of the project, it is an opportunity for them as developers to share their progress and to take questions from the audience.
Exactly.
I would be personally highly uncomfortable with a flat-on sales pitch, and I presume that that's not what they intend to do here. But I don't want CROA giving its stamp of approval to a specific builder for a specific project.
David and I have had this conversation. It is I'll speak for you right now, you can confirm. It is our intent to introduce, to say we're part of this ad hoc group along with Floyd and Jeffrey and others, but at the end of the day, it is their meeting. CROA is absolutely not endorsing it. CROA has no power over anything, as we all know, but on the other hand, we're trying to at least facilitate communication.
Right. So it's not a CROA meeting, it
That is
is
correct.
a MATAMI meeting to the community.
That is correct. And I would make.
Is that correct?
Yeah, it's not a CROA meeting. On the other hand, it's a meeting that's happening at Town Hall to facilitate conversation.
Could be CROA hosted, not CROA sponsored.
We could say it
And I would
that way,
also
yeah.
make a correction, and it was my error. I used the word town hall. I don't think we should call it town hall because we use the term town hall for our meeting. I would call it informational session on Island Village. But that was, in our own ad hoc way, we've talked about a town hall, and I would just make sure the label is different.
So, one of the purposes of this meeting that
thank
we're
you.
having on Wednesday, and we'll probably have at least one or two more before the meeting, is to find out what the heck they're gonna introduce. Because we also don't wanna have a meeting where they say, here's 52 cards and guess what they are, and we can't show them to you yet. I mean, so is January the right timing? Great question. You know, if they don't have TCC approval or stuff filed with the county, maybe not.
Yeah. An ad hoc committee will have some input into what their agenda is. Some input, some suggested input.
We'll have
It's their
suggested
meeting.
input.
We give lots of feedback.
At the end of the day, they're not
That's
gonna
what
have
your
a,
point is.
they're not gonna have a meeting at Town Hall without CROA saying it's okay to have a meeting at Town Hall.
Charge them.
Yeah.
All right, any further discussion before we move to action items? We have relocated 2 action items that were items 23 and 24. I think what we agreed to for the first one was the motion. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So would you like to,
Sure.
action, would you like to read the
Sure,
motion?
I want to make a motion. I move to authorize CROA Council immediately begin mediation proceedings against the Artisan Club Condominium Association for failure to comply with the community-wide standards.
I will second that.
Okay, so we have a motion from Jackson and a second from Kevin. Any discussion? And for point of information, we have had an extensive discussion with our attorney this afternoon. We had an executive session that was duly posted, and so we've had an extensive discussion on this item.
Call the vote.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 2 was a discussion of the Celebration News magazine delivery. And the reason for moving this item, putting this item on the agenda was that we have had 2 editions of the magazine, of the Celebration News. I think the comments that we've received about the publication are good. The delivery into our homes has been, on average, maybe 10 days after the first of the month, ballpark?
And variance, yeah.
Okay.
It's been spread.
So the concern is, and we wanted to discuss, we're used to and expecting a first of the month delivery. yes, the delivery is in public stations, but it's to the home. So we wanted to look at management's recommendations. I asked, I think a week, or I can't remember, a week and a half ago, to push the limits, push the boundaries, be creative with solutions on how do we address the timing for the magazine to get to residents' homes. So, discussion.
Specifically, the deadline is to get it homes between the 1st and the 5th of every month. It is the magazine has got wonderful feedback, but if you get the thing, I got it this month on December 12th, and the events that are happening on the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th of December are a little late. You do get it online, but if we're gonna print it, we're gonna have a magazine, this is a serious commitment. So let's take it away, Steve.
Sure. JR and I have spent a lot of time working with Sean, the representative from Print to Order, and really we have to isolate the problem. We have to figure out what the problem is to come up with solutions for that. And there's a lot of digging into it. And I'm not an expert on post office, and I'm not going to pretend to be at all, but there's a lot of different letters and different anagrams used to describe how things go out. But bottom line is that the magazine was here in Celebration when it was supposed to be here. Some homes got it on December 4th, some didn't get it until December 12th. It looks like what it's coming down to is postal carrier routes. And from what I understand, and again, if I'm misspeaking, I apologize because I'm not an expert on Postal Service, but I believe that they have 7 days to get those types of publications from the post office out to the homes. So they get to pick and choose as a postal carrier when it goes out. Now, we all know in Celebration that if you have a car parked in front of your mailbox, you're not getting mail. There are multiple times where the post office will skip your mailbox. So to fix that, what Print to Order has committed to do is that they're going to take the product to the Fort Lauderdale post office, checked in, signed off by the post office there. Then they're going to contract a third party who will pick up the USPS approved product and deliver it directly to the DDU serving Celebration, which is our post office here. And then they said that it's going to be in sequenced order, and a carrier can grab those and do the route. The other thing that we're going to do is JR and I are going to go to the post office and just say, is there anything else that we can do? Can I buy you some cookies? Is there anything I can do to get you to take them out when they're supposed to go out? But that's the commitment of, I mean, I can tell you, my question is, and I think this is a very logical question, why can the newspaper get out and a magazine can't? But the reality is they both are getting to that post office at the same time. They just aren't being delivered out. And I did a unscientific test of one weighs this much in my hand, one weighs this much in my hand. It's actually been weighed, and it's about 7 ounce difference. So when you add 7 ounces to multiple magazines, it does get much heavier when you're talking about a pallet. So we're going to work on the post office, and because that's where the problem is. They're sitting there, and they got to get out from there into the homes. We have had a commitment that December 28th, or possibly before that, January's editions will be here in town. So this week, JR and I will be going, or at least I will this week, tomorrow, going over the post office and pleading our case to see if there's anything we can do to get it out quicker. Other than that, folks, I think that we're in the first 2 months of a brand new endeavor. Management is going to strongly recommend here that we be patient. We give it at least 2 more months to see if this will correct the issues and not make any rash decisions based on an election month, which is a midterm, very highly public election, and then the holiday season, which we know is the most busiest time of year when it comes to delivery. So we're going to recommend that we at least give it through January and February. Let us try this, and let's see what the outcome is of
I wanted
this
to
way of
comment.
identifying the problem.
Thank you, Steve, for that. I do want to comment, though, as far as the email we received late this afternoon that Print to Order had no control over the post office. I know that's, a lot of us don't, but one of the main reasons why the newspaper was received so early and the magazine was not is the newspaper coding for the route was the ECRWSH, when you look at your route number on top. Originally, the magazine, the first 2 times it was mailed under the ECRLOT. Those just come in bulk, and the carrier has to put them by street order. When you switch to this code that you've now switched to, that will save a lot of time because they are already put in order for the carrier. And that was the main reason why we were missing a couple days, because the carrier does that when they get a chance.
Yeah,
And-
see, Debbie's well-versed on the
Well,
codes and
well,
stuff.
I was-
This
that's
is
what I
stuff
said,
that
you
I'm
know,
learning as they do this.
Well, no, I mean, you have to talk to this is just something you
Right.
dig in and you
Something
find out.
they should know.
It's something
They
French
would-
Order
they
should have
know.
known, that's their business. I mean, I know because we've done a magazine for different businesses I've worked with, but
Okay.
that does help with their control. And if it doesn't help with this, we'll just bump up,
Okay.
we'll have to bump up the date.
But for the sake of the audience, I have said it in writing, and I think the board agrees, we are not trying to kill the magazine. I have received zero bad input on the magazine. We want it delivered on time. So that's what we're pushing for. Then we can get rid of the last complaint about the magazine and worry about the athletic fields.
I mean, I assume that another part of the solution is to set an earlier deadline for editorial. I mean, it seems to me that most of our advertisers run a fairly consistent ad from month to month, with the exception of the realtors. And the truth is, most of the product they put in their ads is already changed, even with the newspaper. So it seems like if we push the deadline up by 48 hours or 72 hours and bought ourselves 2 or 3 days on the front end, it would take some pressure off on the back end. Is that a solution that you're considering?
No, I don't think so. The reality is in November, I authorized an extension to work with advertisers because it was our first paper, and I wanted to have a transition, and really it was no guts, no glory decision. So I wanted the advertisers to be included. Unfortunately, they didn't get out in time. They had 60-plus additional advertisers calling, I believe, after the initial magazine hit the community. So now they have an influx in December. So I think they're trying to get the formula that works the most. And if we move that back, everything moves back, from advertisers getting their information into the editorial that we're receiving from the outside entities that are putting in information. So I think for January and February, I would prefer to leave the deadlines the way they are, because they're already pushed up by 5 days from what we had them from the newspaper.
They are.
Yeah, they're December 10th as opposed to the 15th. So I don't think that that's going to be our solution right now. I'm really kind of banking on working with the post office to try and get it out there. And I will do my best to try and influence that and get these out. And I think, as Debbie said, it's not the first time I heard that they, by changing that code, that it puts it in different packets so that the mail carrier can get it out. So if I see any signs that it's not going to work, I will come back to the board immediately and let you guys know.
But again, this is their business, and this is something, if this is what they're telling you they don't have any control, it's their business, and I don't want them to be sliding to advertisers or the residents and receiving it late, because this is something that.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that, but if there's truth behind the fact that the mail carrier can pick and choose up to 7 days, whether they want to pick those magazines up and take them out, then that's a real fact. I mean,
You're
that's.
gonna always have variance. You're gonna have variance.
Okay,
yeah.
so
Just don't let them
we
ever
said
move
hard.
it from the Midwest or the West Coast.
I was very assertive with them on letting them know, and I was very frank with them that we
So-
got to get this fixed.
So let's hope this works, and if it doesn't, then come back with some further creative solutions.
Yes.
My one final question, Steve, do you know, is Miami going to be the place where it's printed from now on?
I don't
that
know
wasn't-
permanently if that's where it's going to be printed from, but I know for the next couple issues it will be printed from.
I have to
Deer
say, and I just
before.
want to make it very public, if they print from anywhere to the left of this state,
West.
it's going to substantially affect the mail time. If they go to Las Vegas.
Oh, I don't think that's, I think that,
Or if they
if
mail a
anything, it
print-
would be closer to.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just saying, don't go the other
These
way.
guys want this to work. I mean,
Don't go east of the.
I don't know if there's any way to add anything to the contract, but if they go, if they go east at all, we're in trouble. Thanks.
If they go west of it.
Thanks, Kevin.
Can't go.
Yes.
Now,
West, sorry.
let's go to
I knew what you were
action.
talking about.
Next item.
Next item, action item 1, motion to approve the agreement with Osceola County to receive $2.1 million for athletic fields as reviewed by Attorney Slayton. Do we have a motion?
So
I
moved.
have a motion with a change.
Let's do a motion, then we can we do the motion?
I'll second it.
Brian's motion?
Second.
Jack is second.
Discussion.
Discussion. You have a change.
I do. I wanted to add under 7A for the maintenance priority usage and revenues under community user group. For A, I just want to add CROA, Association Programming, I just want to put CROA in front of the Association Programming to define for this group.
And Debbie and I talked about this earlier today. I completely support this. I think that it just clarifies what association programming is, CROA programming.
That's
but
what we meant.
we just
That's what
want to
was meant in
clarify.
there.
But you want to put,
But if
yeah.
you look under B, it says this would be athletic groups that have agreements with CROA. I think that we need to say CROA, association programming, and then have some wording in there about these are the athletic groups that have agreements with CROA to utilize the fields.
So to do that,
Modify your motion.
Jack, are you okay?
I want to listen first. Go ahead, is there any other comments first?
Yeah,
Well, we may have to modify the
Right.
motion. Go ahead.
I'm actually passing this along for Vaughn, who was not able to be here tonight. He, as you know, he was instrumental in coming up with this original concept and helping to negotiate it, and supports the agreement strongly. But yeah, if you could,
He's
you
got
could
it
go
there.
to section 7A.
That's it right there.
Okay, I'll
Can you
just take
see
your
it?
word
Hold
for
on,
it.
let me see if I can make it bigger. Is that better?
Oh, so much better. I used to be young. Anyway, in 7A, Vaughn has raised the, I think, valid point that we ought to be explicit about celebration residents as a distinct group, rather than at the bottom in E, resident rental, that we identified that there would be association programming and athletic groups that are celebration-only groups. For example, there might be a celebration old people that like to kick soccer balls group. And that if that were made up of purely celebration residents, that they would be in this A grouping rather than down in the E grouping. And that he felt that the explicit addition of a celebration group, which is different than the CROA designation that we just talked about, would make the agreement clearer in terms of usage.
The issue that I would see with that is that, first off, we have no association program agreements with any groups that don't have just residential. I mean, they're residents and non-residents right now. Quite frankly, we don't have enough kids that live in Celebration to support large leagues if we only allowed Celebration residents. So we do have kids that don't live in Celebration that are participating. But we do have a recreation program plan that the Recreation Program Committee put together and the board approved, where it gives first registration rights to residents. So they get a period where they can register, and then after that, non-residents can register. So it gives folks that live here in town an opportunity to get signed up and get a spot before they're filled up by non-residents. And I think it changes the tone of the agreement with the county if we were to go back and say only Celebration residents. I mean, the athletic group programming right now on existing fields and utilizing the K-8 facilities has non-residents that are utilizing those facilities.
David, one other thing I wanted to add is we did get comments.
Yeah, I want to make sure
everybody has
we
these
talk about that. So
before we
just in
finalize.
terms, just for, put it back in context, this is not the first time any of us have seen this. This has been in process for months with multiple meetings with the county, I think on 3 specific occasions in the last 6 months. Then this agreement appeared maybe 6 weeks ago, ballpark, Steve? And then we reviewed it as a board. We've had workshops on this. It was sent to residents with an email, and actually with our attorney, and then we folded in all comments. We met with the county again to refine those. So this, with so far one specific item, I think.
Well, what was the specific item we're talking about?
The whole agreement.
Oh, just the
Oh.
one, just the one change from the 7A.
Yeah, but the whole agreement has been shared with the county, and then we received comments. We invited people to comment to Kevin or myself or to the entire board, and I think we've received
Can-
6 specific comments.
Can you tell me again what change you'd like to 7E?
For 7A.
7A.
7A, yeah, just to add CROA before the
CROA
word association.
association.
CROA associations,
Okay, gotcha,
makes
okay.
sense.
No, that makes sense, okay, I agree.
because that was the.
No,
that's
no,
what
I
we meant by
agree with
association.
that, I agree with that.
That was it,
Okay.
so far. So any comments on the comments?
Association.
We've all seen the comments from residents. Actually, one was, "This is great," so that was a comment, not a question. One was, we should not be building the fields
Yeah.
at all.
Too late.
That's like, this was approved like 8 months ago, 10 months ago. So one just had to do with use. I think the only substantive one is what we're talking about now, is usage.
And
We
then
we had,
insurance for
we had the
fun.
question
And
about
one was
insurance.
which we have folded in.
For the sake of just stating it again for people who might be watching, we just renewed the whole insurance program. We've got $1 million occurrence limits with a $10 million umbrella on that. Excuse me. Plus, we require insurance from parties that use the field, so we have more than adequate insurance coverage.
And I think it's important to change our paradigm just a little bit about how we look at these three fields. There's 50-plus green space facilities throughout Celebration. They might not all be full athletic field complexes, but those are the spaces that your assessment dollars allow you to walk on and throw a frisbee or kick a ball or whatever it is that you want to do. These fields are going to be rental-only fields. They're not just open to where anybody can walk out there, because you have a $4.5 million investment.
And they're gated.
You can't, yeah, there's going to be a gate. You cannot have these just be a free-for-all field. They will be destroyed if you do that.
Yeah, this email was sent out to almost 4,000, or 3,000 some
Everyone,
residents.
yeah.
Yeah, we had a resident.
Well, we did two emails. We had one as part of the Friday Flash, and then we did one
Yeah, there were
separate
two.
with just
One
this.
was unique just for this, and the other was embedded in the Friday Flash.
And to make it known, there are only, it needs to be updated up here, but there are seven responses that we received. 7.
Some of which were positive. None of
Some-
which
some
were
were positive.
negative, other than don't build the fields.
Don't build the fields.
Which was not the
What
question.
what does it cost? What's the
So
insurance?
I would be happy to amend the motion to make Debbie's change. Jack, would you?
I'll
happy?
second.
Okay, so we have an amended motion to approve. Do we have any more discussion? Call question? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And again, David, we'd like to thank the county for working with us.
Absolutely.
This
I'd like
is-
to thank Peggy for being here. For those of you who don't know her, Peggy Chowdhury's in the back. She's our county commissioner. Thank you, Peggy. Appreciate all your work on this.
We really appreciate this.
So this, for point of information, this gets signed by us and gets forwarded to the county for their review, even though that staff has already been reviewing this. And it's my understanding that they would be voting on this, I believe, in February.
Is that correct, Peggy?
Maybe
I was not given by staff the date yet, so I'm not 100%.
It's not a specific date, but it's,
Yeah, it's sometime in the next couple of months.
it's in the next couple of months.
The ordinance is,
Let us
I'm
know.
sorry, Peggy, I didn't mean to cut you off. The ordinance is first, and that's gonna be in February, I believe, but I'm not sure if they're gonna do this on the same agenda as the ordinance, but the ordinance is gonna be what moves us. And I also wanted to add, Commissioner Chowdhury, it's been over a year that she came out and met with myself and Jack, and we talked a little bit about the plans for this. So she's been a supporter and been working with us on this for
So there's
over a
been
year.
meetings with Commissioner Chowdhury just
Beth
on
and
this, and then
I,
there's been
right.
town hall meetings and lots of discussions. So thank you for your continued support and engagement with Celebration. Thank you. Thank you. Next item, motion to approve the Technology Committee resolution is prepared by Attorney Slayton.
Are you guys prepared to do these three resolutions together, or do you want to talk about them separately?
Let's do,
I think separate.
I think we should do them separate just for, but thank you, Steve. Do we have a motion? Kevin, maybe?
Where are we on?
Technology.
Yes.
Sorry,
Does someone else want to
I
make
have
a
a
motion?
motion to
Next
approve
time.
the technology.
I will second my own
Debbie makes the
resolution.
motion, seconded by Kevin.
I think that's a little biased if I make the motion on that. It's my own motion. I mean, it's my own document.
We've discussed this at workshops. It was on the agenda last time. I asked that it be deferred just for some cleaning up and being consistent with other committee resolutions.
Call the question.
Any discussion? Call the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, motion carries. Motion to approve the Celebration 25 Steering Committee resolution is prepared by the board and reviewed by Attorney Slayton.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Debbie.
Second.
Second from Kevin. Again, we've discussed this. This follows on glorious, marvelous convening at the end of October, as I recall, of a group and looking past and looking forward the next 25 years. And so this would be with 3 CROA representatives, 2 from the foundation, and up to 2 from CDD, with staff assistants too, as I recall. Call the question. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve, item 4, motion to approve condominium council resolution is drafted by the board and reviewed by Attorney Slayton.
So moved.
Thank you, Jackson.
I'll second it.
Second from Jack. Any discussion? We've had some discussion on this one too. Call the question. Thank you, Jack. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 5, motion to ratify the write-off on collectible celebration news accounts is approved by CJC.
So moved.
Thank you, Jackson.
Second.
Second from Jack.
Call the question.
Call the question. It's administrative ratification. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 6, motion to renew the Celebration Foundation's lifelong learning contract is reviewed by Attorney Slayton.
So moved.
From Brian and Debbie second.
Sure.
Any discussion?
The only thing I'd like to add to this is that what a pleasure to work with these folks here in Town Hall. It really adds vibrancy to the building during the day, which was sitting here unused during that time. So it's a great partnership, and I definitely recommend that we renew it.
It's a very valuable program to
It's a
community.
spectacular program.
And I heard they had some really great speakers this last time, so I think we should definitely.
I don't know about that. I heard some complaints.
There was one
Guy
in the room
cutting
that-
the cable.
We're not talking about me, I'm just saying, we heard that there's some great speakers.
I took hypnosis for golf and it did not work.
Just wait till next semester.
Yeah, I just applaud the work of the foundation and the Kinzers on this and others. Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 7, motion to renew the Celebration Foundation's Thriving in Place contract as reviewed by Attorney Slayton.
So moved.
Thank you, Debbie.
I would move that we combine 7 through 10. Treat them as one vote.
Let's keep,
No,
can
let's
we,
keep voting.
can we just hang on?
No, I want to, I would.
I think we need to,
separate.
I think these are still distinct. We had a motion from Debbie. Did we have a second?
Second.
Second from Brian.
Can
Again,
I-
Thriving in Place.
Can I just mirror what I just said about lifelong learning and say ditto for thriving in
Review
place?
the tape.
Oh.
Said Ibid.
Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 8, motion to approve a 2-year contract with an option to renew with RTP Productions for the Farmers Market.
I will make the motion.
Kevin
Second.
makes the motion.
Second.
Jack seconds.
And just so everyone that's watching and those that are watching at home, this is a change of service providers. Our service provider is retiring at the end of this year. We are working now with the same provider that does the, oh my gosh,
Winter
Winter
Garden
Garden.
and Lake Eola.
And Lake Eola. Very well-known group for farmers markets, and we really expect to see some good things out of this group here. So we are looking forward to this agreement with them.
So 2 other things I've noticed just in yesterday's farmers market, a larger number of crafts vendors all of a sudden. So
Right.
they may or may not carry forward with a new vendor.
Well, we're also working with Lexon and Kanoa to provide these downtown now
So
instead
it's a
of.
relocation
Right.
for 10 out of 12 months of the
And
year.
that's already approved, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I approve for Kanoa, so
Oh,
it was
we're
easy
good.
enough to do, but,
We know a guy.
right.
We're good.
Okay, any further discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve a 1-year contract with an option to renew with Christopher Shabi for the Celebration Community Chorus.
Christopher Shea.
Shave. Thank you.
So moved.
Thank you, Brian.
Second?
Second from Debbie. Discussion.
Yeah, this is an unusual kind of agreement. I'm wondering if Susan could tell us a little bit about what makes this agreement different than our other types of.
It is different from our others because Celebration historically has funded this particular program. And as such, the Christopher has been compensated based on the number of performances as opposed to our other play-to-pay programs that we
Yeah.
have.
We talked about this during budget work sessions. This is a program that's being run by CROA, that we have to contract with a with a subject matter expert that understands chorus.
I have a question. Do they don't go underneath any other committee though? So each committee, special events, Parks and Rec, whatever the case is, they're given their budget, and then they got to make do with how they got to make do. This is completely isolated.
It's different, yeah. It was argued last year that this is a benefit to the community, therefore it shouldn't be treated as the other pay-for-play programs. And the CROA board made that decision. So it is subsidized to a certain extent, but this is the contract to have an instructor. We don't have anybody on staff to teach course. So Chris does a great job with them. He has this strong background in this field, and really the program has increased quite a bit since he's come on board. But it is not a pay-for-play fully or a profit center at all. This is a subsidized program.
Brian, question for you. Do you think there would be an issue if we took that same 4,500 and put it to whatever respective committee?
1,500?
Whatever the dollar is. I think it's 45.
That's the total expense for that program. His expense is 1,500 of that 4,500.
So for that program, if we found the appropriate committee that it falls underneath and put that dollar amount to that committee, and then just like every other committee works, you know, for every other event.
Well, if you remember how it was budgeted, you had all the special events in one GL line. You had three programs in the next one, and that was Kids Night Out, which pay for play. I mean, it's not subsidized at all. Then you have Summer Breakout, which is a small profit center. You make a little bit of money. And then this is that third program that's slightly subsidized.
At the end of the day, accounting is accounting. It doesn't matter. If you want to put them under somebody, you put them under somebody. I've went to several other concerts. They're darn good.
Yeah. I'm not arguing
basically, we're giving them a fixed sum, and they're getting community people and other people to give them the money they need on top of that for music and stuff like that. So I think it's a good program. If we want to put it under events, I think that's the only place you could put it, then I don't care.
Under special
But
events, would
to me, it's a
probably be
program, though, that people are
Around
coming
that.
in here, they're getting instructional training every Monday. They're learning how to sing in front of a group of people. It's not an event, it's a program.
So we started the sign language for the babies.
Yeah. This, to me, is the same type of
So
program
it's the
as that.
same thing like that.
But we don't treat
But we
sign
don't
language for the
subsidize.
babies.
Well,
the
so
same.
someone said it earlier, I don't remember who it was, but tradition's important in celebration. And this is an event, this is a group that has been doing this for years and years and years. And when we tried to change it last year and make it a true pay-for-play program, the board overturned that and moved it back to what it was. So
The
a
value,
relationship on
I
that
think the
board.
opportunity to do that, it comes in October when we approve the budget.
I can tell you, I've had several people tell me, don't screw with the chorus or I'll kill you.
No, right. Just for streamlining everything the same.
Streamlining it,
process.
I don't care. I mean, this should be easy.
Every other contract to make them all in the same
the value
format.
to the community for the participants in here, the people who are learning, the 70, I think it's 71 people, was powerful. And then the value back to the community of the multiple concerts, the quality of the concert a week ago was off the charts. I did not know the dollar figure. When I read it here, I thought, oh my gosh, all those rehearsals and all that training for that little amount?
I am
If
not.
anything, I would argue for
I am
much
not
more.
questioning any of that whatsoever. I am just saying that we came in as this board and we saw a lot of processes that needed to kind of get dusted off or cleaned up or more aligned. And I'm trying to understand why this one item, it has nothing to do with what it is. I'd like to keep it. It is a tradition.
I think it's a
But is
budget
that-
question, though, more than anything. So we had this conversation during budget work sessions, and the board voted to keep it as a slightly subsidized program, because I asked the question, should we raise the fees? And before, we weren't charging anything for the participants, and now it's $10, I think, for residents for the year, and $20 for non-residents. So in my mind, from Parks and Recreation background, it's either a pay-for-play program or a subsidized. And then you have methodology behind why you subsidize a program. And the methodology behind this one was that it's a traditional group that has been meeting. It's always been subsidized by CROA, and there was value to that by the past CROA boards. It's a budget question more than anything, though, because if we're going to change it, it's going to be either reduce expenses or raise revenue.
Any further discussion on this?
Kevin, do you want to, would you,
I'm just saying, keep it,
What-
just put that money under another committee, just like every other committee, or make their own committee, I don't know.
Put it under-
But for it to come straight to the board is not the normal way.
You're approving a
Seems like it would
contract.
come out of
though.
Park
You're
and
approving
Park
a
and Rec,
It
wouldn't
comes
it?
at
Park and
Yeah.
Rec?
So you're approving
Would
the
you like to amend
instructor's
it?
contract to, and so essentially it does fall, when the recreation committee's talking about quality of programs, they can always say, hey, this just isn't meeting our standards, it's not meeting our quality, we don't recommend that we do this again. But the money though, all the money that is spent for, recreational, or not recreational, not the special events, but the recreational programs, that's all done through COA. COA does all
I'm
of
not
those
questioning
things.
the dollar whatsoever. I'm not questioning the program. I'm just saying,
You could
is
put
it
it
in
under
the
recreation.
appropriate?
It is under recreation.
It is.
Right. It's under Park and Rec and coming out of the.
Parks and Rec committee, the recreation committee does not approve any expenditures whatsoever. You all do. We budget, and we bring them to you during budget work sessions, but they don't approve expenditures.
But it's
I have
under
to
Park
say,
and Rec, that's what he's
I'm
saying.
the liaison to the Recreation Committee, and I don't recall seeing anywhere that this particular organization or group or activity has been part of their discussion. Dory's probably left. I think it's a one-off. Maybe it's a three-off, I'm not sure. But it's something unique, and it's not clear to me, I think I share Kevin's concern, it's not clear to me why it's got to be unique in a procedural way, why it couldn't be part of Recreation Committee dealing with it and reviewing and making a recommendation rather than coming to us to make the recommendation. I've heard nothing but wonderful things. I've been here, I've seen plenty of these concerts over the years. I remember when Dave Eaton led this group. I mean, it goes back a long, long way. But I don't think that necessarily merits that we handle it differently than other activities where people do pay something to participate. And I don't think it hurts to put it in if it's recreation, if that's, it seems like it's more like the baby sign language than.
Yeah, but we don't have a recreation committee budget, though. The budget line is
I understand, but they make an
special
approval,
events.
they look at the event, they look at the activity, and they say, how many people does it support? What do we allocate in resources? What contracts are we writing with them? And then they're sending them to us. And I think part of our process has been to ask those committees to do that early vetting process so that it doesn't become a matter of coming directly to the CROA board, but it's got one level of community involvement before it gets here.
Like a review.
Sure, I don't think that there would be an issue at all to have them, and I would include summer breakout camp as that also, because this is more similar to summer breakout camp, where it's a CROA program. We hire seasonal employees to run those programs, but we oversee it. So same thing with the chorus program, we just don't have a subject matter expert to teach it. So we contract out with someone that knows how to sing and that knows how to put together performances. But it's run by Nikki, though. It's Nikki's program. It's part of Parks and Recreation. The other program are partners. Like we don't know anything about tennis. We don't manage it at all. We just hire a contractor to do it completely. And it's all reviewed by those minimum standards in youth sports and minimum standards in programming. But I don't see it being an issue at all when they review all the contracts to go over course. But I agree with Brian, though, that I don't think it's a traditional event. It'd be like if the Special Events Committee came back and said, we're not doing father-daughter dance
I
anymore.
am not remotely
I haven't heard anybody
whatsoever.
say get rid of it. I've just heard put it under
It's really a
recreation.
matter
So
of having it reviewed or vetted
We're
or
at the process.
assessed
Where does it?
by the Recreation
Fine.
Committee.
Fine.
That's it. Any further discussion?
Do we need to amend the motion, or are we okay?
You're approving the contractor to
contract.
teach the board.
We're approving the contractor, and then if I think,
I would
You're
ask that
the
motion be-
liaison to the
be
Recreation
amended
Committee.
To approve the contract subject to this program falling under the aegis of the Recreation Committee.
Or is it better for special events?
It's
Well,
not a special event.
It's not a special
program.
event. It really is a
Parks and Rec,
recreation.
right.
Singing is recreational.
Okay.
I mean,
Well,
I
at
don't
least you
know.
have something now that's the arts, that's good. I'm happy for that.
It's an enrichment program, I agree.
So we have a
I
modification.
love the arts.
I know, that's why.
We have
I
a
love dogs.
modification.
it shouldn't be
I love
subject
soccer.
to,
What?
it shouldn't be subject to, and we should just extend it to say, and it is under the purview of the Recreation Committee
Perfect. From this point forward.
from this
Yeah.
point forward.
So is that acceptable to whomever made the motion? Was it Brian who made the motion? I don't know
Sure.
who made the motion.
Brian
I
did
think.
my second, yes.
Brian did.
It's acceptable for me.
Is that acceptable?
Yep.
Okay, so we have the amendment, Rachel, and we're okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to renew the consulting agreement for aquatic safety and risk management service with Jeff Ellis and Associates. Jack makes the motion.
Second.
Second from Brian. Any discussion here?
Call the question.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you for all you do.
Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Do we want to bundle the next items, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16, or do you want to deal with them separately?
Bundle.
Bundle, you know.
Motion to bundle,
Is this 11 through 16?
11 through 16. One
Everything
is,
Todd went over.
So move.
that's from Jack,
Second.
from Brian. So that's roof repairs, replacement of irrigation controllers, electrical panel, plaster and tile at Lakeside, pool furniture, north and east villages, and 2 treadmills to replace those at Spring Lake. Any further, any discussion?
What keeps happening with the treadmills?
Yeah, is Todd here?
Todd is on vacation this week, but he gave me the lowdown on everything. The treadmills that were installed, the equipment that was installed by David Weekly when they conveyed Spring Lake Fitness Center to us was either low-grade equipment, commercial equipment, or upper-grade residential equipment. That
For use in my
equipment is being used almost continuously. There is a lot of use there. So this particular brand is one that we've replaced an elliptical, and we've replaced some other exercise equipment with, and it has, in the last 2 years, not had any problems.
Because we've already repaired those at least 3 other times.
Twice.
Just repaired twice, okay, all right.
Because they're home quality, not
Okay,
industrial
I got
quality.
calls on those, I'm like, I don't know what keeps happening, but we'll fix it, okay, good.
Yeah, I think Todd talked about that in the workshop. Any discussion on any of these other items?
Call the motion.
Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 17, motion to approve to initiate the finding process for one non-compliance item through notification of the Covenants Committee meeting to confirm or reject the fine.
So moved.
That was Jackson
No,
made a
Kevin did it
motion.
first, and I seconded.
Kevin made the motion.
Whoever you'd like,
Kevin
just
made
make
the
it happen.
motion, Jack
In this one.
seconded.
Yeah.
Tony, could you come up?
And she's got, this is just unupdated wording.
So I recognize that we cannot identify the property,
Correct.
but we can talk about some of the background here, can't we? Or can we?
So typically, we do not during a board meeting.
Well, I'll start talking and you stop me when I get too far. How's
Okay.
that?
Deal.
We have a situation in which the claim has been made that a property is being used for residential housing of a number of young adults beyond the number permitted per bedroom, and running a business that's not appropriate for the zone for that particular area. In addition, the tenants and the owners of that property have not submitted a lease to Town Hall. And that further, Town Hall has sent a request for the lease and to follow up and not received a response.
Correct.
Is all that correct? I simply want to make the point that in this holiday season, when we typically don't meet, that this particular problem is substantial, and it is, it potentially, if the allegations are true, it is a gross violation of our covenants. It's a gross violation of the way that we want to have the community represented, and it is problematic on a number of levels. And that therefore, we are asking that the process begin now, out of the normal sequence, and we're approving that this begin the finding review process. Is that accurate?
Correct. And if you actually look at the sheet of paper that was just passed down, it specifically states it starts today, and then the Covenants Committee confirms it in February for the maximum amount at that point. So instead of it
Which is
starting, 5,000 per
5,000.
item. Yeah, so instead of
item.
it starting that night, it'll start tonight.
And there's 2 items, right?
Correct.
Non-discrete business and no lease.
Correct.
And the
Should
owners-
covenants wait till February, or should covenants look at something sooner?
Well, so Florida statute requires the whole 50 days, so either way, the 50 days will be at the time the covenants committee meets.
Okay, fine.
So if you start today, at
No,
least
that's fine.
it's.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you've made multiple efforts to reach out and to no avail. I just want to make the point to the huge audience out there that this is not acceptable for people to think that they can ignore the covenants in a homeowner association controlled community and to run businesses that are as wide-ranging as this particular one is alleged to be is something that, if proven to be true, would be not only unacceptable, but of great concern to us as board members.
And just to add to that, Jackson, in the 4.5 years that I've been here, every board that I've worked with up to this point has had a zero tolerance policy for this, and we have enforced to the fullest extent. So Jackson's message should be taken to heart by anybody that's considering doing this, because CROA board is not going to allow it.
Tony, maybe I was confused, but clarify for me exactly how much the fine is to be.
For each item?
Yes.
Okay, so non-submittal of lease per the charter is 1,000 maximum. So that's where that amount is written on your sheet right there. And then B is $100
Actually, it's
a
not
day.
$1,000 maximum, it's $1,000. There's no discretion less than 1,000 or more than 1,000, so it's automatic 1,000.
right, correct.
But you can't charge
Can't go higher.
$5,000
For that item.
Not for
No,
that
Correct.
particular
this is
violation.
just for failure to report the lease.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other issues are $100 per day.
Correct. Up to 5,000.
Okay.
Yeah, up to 5,000.
Thank you.
Just a question on this. The resident that came here over a month ago that initially asked about this, can they be contacted to let them know anything? Probably not.
I wasn't here. I don't know who that was.
We typically wouldn't contact neighbors to let them know that we're moving forward with any action.
Yeah, it wasn't a neighbor.
We can
Okay.
certainly suggest that people watch to the very bitter end. of
That's
tonight's
exactly right.
We should encourage
when
you
the
to
good
do,
stuff happens.
let's let them do their job. We approve it, they've got a process, let's let them go.
So
Thanks,
moved.
Call the vote.
Any call the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve 2 service area intent to lien letters to owners delinquent more than 1 assessment.
So moved.
Thank you, Jack.
Second.
Second from Brian. Any discussion?
Wow. So, call question.
Call a question. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve 1 attorney recommended write-off totaling $139.02.
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Brian. Second by Jack. Any discussion?
I have a question on 5, 6, and 7.
We're not on that yet.
Oh, sorry.
Look at previous account write-ups.
Sorry, went ahead.
We're on 19 now.
Yeah.
Sorry, went ahead. Go ahead. Yes.
Ready?
No discussion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 20, a motion to approve the write-off of 16 accounts with previous balances in the amount of $199,189.60.
So moved.
So Jack made the motion. Second from
Brian.
Brian.
Wow.
Now I have a question. I'm sorry.
Okay, Debbie, ask your question.
I have a question on 5, 6, and 7. I think that's all.
What's the,
They have, were they the owners of the property? 'Cause
they were for a period of time, yes.
okay. These are the same ones that have been previous owners of other foreclosures in the community?
Yes, they have had other,
Have
yes,
they changed their
properties.
name? Because before they're known as Empower.
Are they
There's
still?
2 separate
We shouldn't use
corporations.
names.
Sorry.
But I will tell you that all of these were in foreclosure, and once the bank took title, we were required to write off X amount. And our attorney, our previous attorney, not our current attorney, failed to direct us because we, management, do not just selectively decide to write things off. So The attorney typically, when they give us the settlement letter, tells us and write off all previous balances. Our prior attorney did not do that, and so as we went through and audited, we found, I knew that there were a couple, I didn't know there were 16. But now everything is written off for a previous owner that has a balance, and the owners that are with us are moving forward, paying their assessments.
5, 6, and 7, have they reorganized anyone from that LLC in a different name, and they're still?
Those are
operating?
typically assigned over to that group. It doesn't mean that they pay all the outstanding. They have the agreement is that they give a rent share until they've paid up, but sometimes the bank will foreclose before they can get any rent. They take a risk when they do it. And it looks like on these, and I don't know if that's exactly what happened with these two, but it looks like the bank took it back before they could get back the amount that
And
was
typically,
outstanding.
when they take it, they pay us 1-year assessment, just like if the bank took title, they pay us 1-year assessment and then assessments moving forward. If there's $5,000 in assessments prior to that, they don't pay that, they pay that 1 year and then assessments moving forward.
But their top priority, though, is to get the house to look back to community standards. That's what the agreement calls for, is getting the house fixed up first.
Well, I understand that, but is the opportunity to buy that property presented to anyone else or just to this group?
We didn't, they bought these off the courthouse steps. They did not do it through an agreement with us.
Yeah, we haven't
But they
sold.
had previously, right?
There is, yes, they have
They
previously.
bought houses directly from us?
No, not directly from.
That's what the
So
jobs did, had
does
they
this
bought
close
directly
out
from us.
that chapter?
I think there's one more property, isn't there? There's one property that's sitting out there that we've had an estoppel on in the last month.
Is that the one we
So-
expected to sell in November? There's
I'm
one
not
that was selling courthouse, yeah.
But I guess my point is, after this,
That's it.
no more of this.
Right, that's exactly right.
One thing
Call for question.
to note really quick is, I mean, like you called it, play money.
Yeah.
There, 125,000 were fines, so not like it makes that pill any easier to swallow, but it's the 74, 189.
And then
But
5,000
if you
late
look,
fees.
if you look at the financial report, we have receivables of $760,000, and we have a recoverable, or an allowance for bad debts of $567,000. We've talked earlier about fines. We find the daylights out of people unless we really get mad at somebody like the previous party you said. We might have a different approach. Lots of times, we rack up big fines because we want them to get religion about fixing their property up, and then we end up forgiving it on the tail end. So I hate to say we're not talking about real money here, but we're not talking about real money. You really all got to look at the net accounting here and what we're trying to achieve by scaring people to death. We can knock the daylights out of you if we have to. Please clean your property up.
Call the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 21, motion to approve 9 fee waiver requests from homeowners in the amount of $290.12.
So moved.
Thank you, Brian. Second from Jack. Any discussion?
All of us.
Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Last item, item 22, motion to approve 2 legal payment plan requests as recommended by the attorney.
So moved.
Jack motions, second from Debbie. Any discussion?
I typically don't like to go with payment plans, however, these are less than a year in length, so they, as far as I'm concerned, they're good.
And management concurs.
Yes.
Call the vote.
Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motion adjourned.
Board comments.
I would like, I know we go usually in a certain order, but I would like to yield my comments to Peggy Chowdhury because she came here. If she can come up to the mic, just, if that's okay with the board, just since she's here, just to give a couple of updates on what's going on. And they don't like to listen very long, so you got to.
No, I won't be here long, but thank you to the board. It was interesting, the meeting today. Thank you so much for the participation again with my staff. I'm happy to see the contract went through, and we're going to obviously continue working together and making sure we get the stuff that we need for you completed and done. I just thought it would be great to kind of give you guys a firsthand look at the updates we got today. I was in a 4-hour workshop today with the rest of the commission, and we're talking about 2019 coming about and what's happening, just to kind of stay afloat. And I would love to, at a later time, meet with you individually for comments or suggestions or what you feel about it, and of course let the citizens know. So some of the discussions on the board for 2019 is what changes we're going to make specifically when it comes to additional fees or any mileage increases or millage increases and so forth. Some of the conversations have been law enforcement fee. I know that we had a conversation here in celebration about that, transportation fee, and again, possible millage rate increases. And this is due to obviously our growth and what we want to do with our transportation, our structure, our roads, and so forth. So I'd love to hear from citizens. I'll be having town halls, of course, like always, and I'll make sure, of course, I come to Celebration and hear what the citizens tell me and properly represent their thoughts and ideas on these issues. And then, of course, other conversations have just been really how we're structuring our meeting. We have a new chairwoman is Cheryl Grebe, and our vice chair is Viviana Janer. And so today, Grebe she just wanted to talk a little bit about how the meetings are structured and so forth. So we're kind of looking to see regarding times, how much time the public is given, and then how much time could be donated. So we're reviewing that. So that's always good to come and look at and let us know what's happening there. Last but not least, of course, there's some stuff that we're talking about legislation efforts. We want to make sure that we are getting our fair share in the state for funding. It doesn't always work well in different counties around the state, but we are going to try our best to make sure we get our fair share with all different types of forms of funding. We are focusing a lot, of course, in Neal City, which we're trying to diversify our tax base besides tourism, and Neal City is one of the bigger projects in the county. I did want to mention one of the things I'll be doing in 2019. Many of you know county commissioners receive betterment grants. They get $50,000 every single year. As District 1, I have not spent a dime of that because I really wanted to hear from the citizens these past year and a half, 2 years of what the dedication should be and where. So what I'm going to be doing is, besides working collaboratively with the Salvation Army and helping with efforts on homelessness, but also resource centers for education and job creation and so forth, and helping with people getting better jobs, is I want to work with the public in finding out what other nonprofits are out there that have not ever received funding from the county, has never gotten betterment grants, that are doing amazing work in our county. So as Celebration, I know you folks are all very involved, very entrenched in our community. So I'll be distributing betterment grants in that fashion with a small committee of high school students that I'll be creating from 9th grade to 12th graders to kind of give me their input also, and giving them an opportunity to learn on how difficult it is to distribute funds, and at the same time giving me their input on what type of organizations they themselves have been involved in our community, and they really like as well. So I would love to meet with you individually and kind of get that feedback. I just wanted to quickly just say that, and of course, happy holidays. I hope everyone have great holidays, and I'm here for you guys for any questions as well, and thanks for allowing me to speak in your time, Debbie.
Thanks
very much.
Thank you very much.
Any other board comments?
I would like to wish you all a happy holiday, and you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas, and enjoy your next couple weeks.
And the same to all. Happy holidays, Happy New Year. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Jackson.
Second.
Thank you, Ryan. We are adjourned.
And a donation to made in your name to Healing Fund.
You didn't bring up any Festivus. It's the feats of strength.
There you go. There you go.
Okay, Frank.
I got a lot to say about you guys.
I forgot about that part.
Oh, yes. Shredder's going to be busy for hours tonight. I don't know. Pardon? Shredder's going to be busy for hours tonight.
I'm not going far.
There's a football game on, Jack, so we got time. We can do it during commercials.
Oh, good. We got done in